Hello, I think we are live now. So, in a minute, we're gonna start chatting about carrying, carrying curious babies. Um, so this is what this live is about. Is not something specific about a specific type of sling. It's very much about trying to find solutions. So I'm going to go through lots of different ways to carry to baby. I'm going to do some demo with some slings, and I'm going to give you some tips as well as to what to do. So carrying curious babies is something I have to deal with every day because I have parents who contact me all the time. They tell me that the baby's unhappy in the sling. They just want to look around. They don't want to go in the sling, or they get very fidgety. They just want to move around. They just seem to be quite unhappy. So it's a very, very common thing, as you can imagine, and it happens sometimes around 3-4 months. That's usually like peak time for them to want to see what's going on. So as babies get bigger and older, their eyesight starts to improve, which means that they want to see a lot more, and so we need to be able to facilitate that. Around that age also, there's really a lot going on in terms of cognitive development, all sorts of things physically, mentally. So it's quite a tricky age sometimes to deal with in terms of carrying in the sling. Some babies will be just totally fine, no change from newborn. They'll just be happy to go in a sling all the time. They won't continue to want to be carried. They don't care about looking around. They just want to be in the sling, and that's really great. But for some babies, they're curious, and no babies are curious, and it's just normal for them to go through. It's just a totally normal developmental stage. So don't worry, that's the first thing. Don't worry, your baby's normal. Your baby wants to look around. Your baby wants to continue to be carried, but they have their conditions now, and you've got to accommodate for that. So let's look at some options. Right, so I'm going to show you a few slings, and if you don't have the carrying options with these slings, then there are other options, and you can drop me a message anytime, always, and we can discuss what could work for you. You don't have to buy a new sling, so that's why I want to show you lots of different options. When babies start to get better head control, you might want to start to do hip carries, okay? So instead of carrying them always on the front, where the straps from your carrier, your wrap might be close to the face, you might want to move them to the hip and give them more visibility. So let me show you an example. So I'm going to grab a Zen sling here because it's very nice to do hip carries with. I find it super comfortable. To be able to do a hip carry in a carrier, you need to be able to unclip the straps because your straps need to be crossed to be able to go to the hip. So I'll show you how to go from front to hip because it's just a very easy, quick way to do it. And you all know how to front carry. So going to the hip is just going to be a very simple thing. Okay. I'm going to grab my baby, where it's gone. So this is about a 3-month-old baby size, roughly. I'm going to bring my baby on my front. I'm going to put my baby in the carrier. Clip, clip. Like that, and then same here. Okay, so on my front, and my baby's straps are quite close to the face. They want to see more. So what you need to do is you're going to loosen your straps. So if you've got dual adjust, it's super handy, this bit here. If not, don't worry, you just loosen it, and then you're going to go to the hip you want to carry on. Oop. We're going to just go on the side like that. And then here, this strap is now a little bit redundant. So you can just remove it like that over your back. And then you're going to go to slack and bring it back to the front. And there we are in a hip carry. So don't hesitate to have your baby quite high up, like that. And spread the strap all over. What do you want, Sebastian? Thank you. Okay, I'll see you later. Okay, bye-bye. Make sure this is nice and comfortable. So what happens here is that suddenly your baby can see a lot more. So they can move their head. Make sure you always have really good head support, especially with still babies who don't have full head control. And they can see a lot more. So, and it's perfectly comfortable. Gives me lots of support across my back, across my shoulder. Not all the weight is on the shoulder. I'm using my whole body to carry. So that's how you do it with a carrier where you've got cross straps. You can't do a hip carry if you can't cross the straps. It's not possible. However, you can do an off center, so you can move your baby a little bit to the side. Okay, and then if you want to just come back to your front, you loosen, you bring your arm back to the strap. So it's just a bit more handy for naps, so your baby can just rest on you, and then you retighten. Also, if you are breastfeeding, that's quite a handy thing to know how to do, because you can lower your baby down quite nicely. Off center would be, so I'm going to loosen a bit. So imagine I don't have cross straps. You're just going to go a little bit more to the side like that, but not completely that your strap will fall off. So a bit more to the side. If your baby's still very small, really make sure that the head doesn't get buried into soft breast tissues, because it can create a risk of suffocation. So make sure your baby is actually quite high up, like this, and resting on your chest. I've had babies who want to be carried over the shoulder. So this is what they want. And sometimes after trying lots of different things, nothing works. So what you can do is, again, it would be more handy to have a carrier that is quite soft, so like a Zen sling, a Go Baby Embrace Is Me, something like that, where you can cross straps. And what we're gonna do is have our baby really, really high up. So I'm going to bring my waist belt. It's going to look ridiculous, yeah, absolutely ridiculous, but still safe to do. So you bring your waist belt as high as you can and retighten. And then you could go into a full hip carry, like that, and retighten. So again, not the most comfortable, so make sure this is not digging into your boob, because it's not the best, but you can do that. And then this strap, you're just going to guide the slack and retighten it. You could try to do that with a maid eye as well, would be quite a, okay, nice carry. So sometimes this is what you have to do, yeah. If this makes your baby happy, you can still monitor the airways and you're respecting safety. The sling is tight. Obviously your baby's going to be very close enough to kiss, but that's okay. You can still see your baby's carried upright. Then why not just try something like this, if this is what's going to happen. And you can go as high as you can, just make sure you can always see your baby. Is very, very important, okay? So try this as well. It looks a bit weird, but sometimes it works. Okay, so this is what we can do in terms of hip carry as a carrier. You could try also a seated sideway carry. So I would say go to that option if really everything else fails. It's not the most comfortable for you, in all honesty, but it is feasible. It works with pretty much every carrier, as long as you can keep the airways clear. So the panel would be always somewhere under the earlobe, okay? So with this one, you loosen your carrier, you get your baby out, and you're gonna sit them like that. So this is not a cradle carry, okay? Massive difference between, this is a cradle carry with baby carried like this, kind of lying down with chin to chest, and it's very quite dangerous. Please don't do that. It's very, very dangerous. Your baby can suffocate, and there has been accident and death, okay? It's important to talk about it. A seated sideways is seated, but on the side like this. Babies, well supported, you can fit your fingers between chin and chest. It's a lot more safe, okay? So you would bring the legs through like this. And then make sure your baby's bum is quite low down. So we're still supporting the M-shaped position, but sitting like this. And then arm inside. The other arm would be somewhere here. If your baby's quite big, maybe they can bring their arm around like that. If your baby's a bit smaller, kind of bring it inside like this, okay? And then guide the slack in your straps. So feed it back so that it's staying in the place you wanted it to be, okay? So you can use the strap like that to support the head, or you can use a hood, or you can use something to give a little bit of padding. Just make sure the head is well supported the whole time, okay? But that's another option. Sometimes with babies who've got reflux or any gastrointestinal, I couldn't say that properly, sorry. Problems like medical conditions, babies have stomach or anything like this, and they can't be carried with their tummy pressed against your tummy, then sometimes this is a really good option because there's no pressure around the stomach here. So you could try that. And obviously the beauty of that is that baby's got a lot more visibility, things that in a way like that, and they can see a lot more. Sometimes it makes them happy, so it's worth trying it. See if that works for you. Okay, so with carriers, you can also back carry. Around the time your baby is 6 months old, use your carrier for back carry. The majority of carriers you can back carry in. Some you can't, like the Ergo brace or the old style Babywearing or the Babywearing mini, you can't do that, so always check that you can. And when the baby's got good head control, you can carry them facing the world, okay? So sometimes that will fix the problem. So for facing out, wait until baby's got very good head control, okay? Your baby needs to be able to hold their head so that they don't get carried with their head tilted back or just have to lean on you like this, okay? It's very important. Obviously also there's a risk of suffocation being carried like this, so this is why we need to wait for full head control. You need to have a carrier that offers the facing out options. You can't just do that with any carrier because, sorry, it won't give you the best support, okay? So some examples. The Beko Gemini and the Beko 8 offers this option by simply bringing the poppers back onto the smaller setting like that. You can turn your baby around, zoop, zoop, like that. Other carriers, Ergo Omni, very popular. You've got some poppers, some buttons or sliders if you've got the mesh version. You bring them onto the smallest setting, so it would be the grey button, and you can turn them around. The Chill Explore, same system. Bring the buttons in, so I'm going to demo with this one because it's all set. And you can go and do that. So I'm just going to make it a bit smaller inside. Yep. So my baby I'm going to demo is a little bit small for that, but that's all I have to demo is because the other one is so big I can barely lift it. That's what we're going to have. Okay. So clip. And then if you had your baby facing in, you can loosen, turn them around. If you're going straight into the facing out position, you just do that. And the panel across. Onto the straps. That's just one way to put carry on. There's lots of different ones. I'm just going to grab my straps and retighten. So, there you go. Here, we're still preserving the M-shaped positioning. So bring your baby's bum really nice and deep, like this. So we still have the bum a bit higher, a bit lower than the knee, sorry. You will never get exactly the same positioning facing out as you do facing in, okay? It's just something to bear in mind. Make sure the panel is not covering the face, okay? So baby's face should be always clear. And then you would have arms coming out like this. With arms, whether you're facing it, facing out, back carry, hip carry, if it helps your baby to feel more free, feel free to let the arms out, okay? As long as it's not dangerous and your baby's body's still well covered all the way to the chest, then you're good to go, okay? If that helps them, please do, or like negotiate one arm out. what will happen for you is the more arms out, the more it pulls on your shoulders, okay? So, so if you can try to negotiate arms in, is best. 1, otherwise 2 if this is the only thing that's gonna work. So you can try like this. So for facing out, do it when your baby's happy, is not ready to eat or not ready for a nap. If your baby falls asleep, you need to immediately turn your baby around, okay? Because there's quite a high risk of suffocation. The arms are in, the face could be covered, okay? So it's very, very important to turn your baby around when if your baby falls asleep. So always do it when they're alert, they're happy. 20-30 minutes at a time. It's up to you how long you carry facing out. It does pull on your shoulders after a while. Usually by the time they're like 13 months, 14 months, they start to feel really too heavy for facing out. So try to like back carry if you're already doing that, or like facing you, because you're going to really feel it in your shoulders and you could get some pain. So it's very important to also listen to your body. Monitoring baby is very important. So I use this really cool sling mirror. So it's a mirror that's got some nice woven wrap fabric, and it's attached to a clip with a retractable string like this. You clip it, make sure it's not damaging your sling, so just like clip on here, clip on your t-shirt, wherever's comfortable, like that. And it's ready always for you to keep an eye on your baby. You can use that for also back carrying, so you can keep seeing your baby and you don't have to get your phone out all the time, put on reverse camera and so on. These are super, super handy. Drop me a message if you want one. I've got quite a few. Or it's a pocket mirror, keep it in your pocket, keep in your carrier's front pocket, super handy. Okay. Facing out, sometimes babies get addicted to it, and this is the truth, I need to tell you about it. They won't be carried facing the parent, okay? So it is for you to decide and take the risk, but it's quite addictive for some babies. If you're happy to do it and it's fine, do it. It does not cause any hip problems. There's nothing wrong with it. It's totally fine. Again, you don't have to face out. If you've got the hip carry option, it gives a very similar amount of visibility and it's a bit more long lasting. You don't have to turn them around. It's okay if they fall asleep, and also they have access to the boob if they're breastfeeding. It's quite handy. Okay, so now we've talked about carriers. There are other slings that offer a lot of visibility. So ring slings are usually a nice option. So I'm going to demo a hip carry. I'm going to just set my sling like that. And I'm going to bring baby onto my hip. You can pick up ring slings, nice and cheap, second hand. Just, you don't have to spend hundreds of pounds. Get one that is made from a woven wrap. They're a lot more comfortable and long lasting in my opinion. But again, whatever works for you. So, just very quick demo how we put baby in the ring sling. So what happens here is that my baby's got lots of visibility. Very similar to facing out. So if I grab another baby, keep babies in boxes, I've got loads of them. So this baby's facing out, this baby's hip carried. You see, really, there isn't a huge difference. It's really comfortable, hip carrying. It's really nice. If they fall asleep, it's fine. You can see them, you can engage with them. It's a really lovely way to carry. And ring slings are really lovely. If you want, you can even do the seated sideways thing. So you can bring the leg in. Again, make sure baby's sitting and not in the cradle style. And that can even give them even more visibility. So you could try something like this. It's also feasible. Totally fine. If you find ring sling a little bit fiddly, and some people do, and that's okay, you could try a pouch. So a pouch works a bit like a ring sling, but you don't have to do tightening. So this one, so they are sized, okay? So it's very important to make sure you've got the size that works for you, because obviously you can't make any adjustments. Okay, so you fold it in half onto itself, and then over your neck, I'm out. This is what you carry. And now we're gonna sit baby in the pocket. Zoop. Very important that babies got head control for these ones, because they really don't give very good support around the head, okay? You can always roll like a muslin cloth around the neck, like that. But I would really wait until your baby's got some good head control, because it's very difficult to tighten. With the ring sling, it's a bit easier. You can tighten and you can roll the muslin cloth. With this one, not so much in terms of adjustment. There's not a lot of options. So, same motion, and then you can fold. It's very unsightly label here. But there you go. You can do that. It's very quick. You don't have to tighten or anything like this. It's always ready to go. And it's really lightweight and really comfortable. I like pouches. I think they're really cool. They fold super small. So if you want to just like go for a quick walk and you've got the buggy, baby wants to be carried, they fold like super tiny. You can have this in your handbag all the time. Selling it like we're like shopping channel. They're really great and they're very cheap as well. Make sure you get one that is sized for you, okay? So, pouches. Other ones, like the Supori one, are quite nice as well. They're great for the summer because they've got mesh. This is only for babies who have full head control, okay? So, because they don't cover the whole back. If you have a kaboo, you can do a hip carry. So they work a bit like ring sling. I can't really say this is the most comfortable option, but it is totally fine. If you go onto my YouTube channel, yeah, I've made a video for this if you want to see. So you can sit your baby in here like this. Zip. And then you can do that. And you just retighten by pulling until it feels nice and comfortable. So that's another option. Make sure you've got really good head support. If your baby doesn't have full head control, roll a muslin cloth. You can roll one of the tails. Make sure it's really nice and tight. Okay, it's important. It's always best to wait to do hip carries with this kind of soft sling when your baby's got some good head control. Okay, so you can also do hip carries with a stretchy wrap, with a woven, with a made-eye, with a podagi. There's lots of options, okay? If all fails, there is one wild card. So let me get it. And this is really for babies with full head control. It is the hip sit. It is not a sling, it is a carrying aid, which means that it's no hands-free. So you put this really sexy thing on. It looks really great on you after before fails, and your baby doesn't like the feeling of constriction or anything around their head. This can be a lifesaver. From about 6 months, I will say, when babies got really full head control, because they just sit like this on your hip and you've still got to hold them, okay? So you can't just like sit there and support the head. It's just, it would be a bit tricky, okay? So support your baby like this. It's no hands-free, but sometimes this is the only thing that's going to work for a while. Okay, sorry. Yes, Sebastian. You want a stool? Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. Whoops. Oh, don't smash the plate down. Okay. All right. So these are some of the slings options. It's quite personal what's going to work for you and your baby, and sometimes it is just a phase. It might just last a few weeks whilst they're going through a leap, while they're going through development. So don't worry too much if your baby cries when you put them in the sling. Sometimes it's just not really about the sling, it's just because they're going through some stuff. So a few things you can try. First of all, remember it's not your fault, okay? You're doing amazing, you're carrying your baby, you're an excellent parent, and I am 100% sure of this. Always take a deep breath and just calm down, because if you become anxious that your baby's going to start crying when you put them in a sling, it's just going to really make things worse. Babies can pick up an anxiety, they're very good at that. So just take a deep breath, just stay positive, and I know it's really easy for me to say that, but it really does help, okay? Put your baby in a sling. don't try not to tighten immediately, okay? Leave it a bit loose, make sure you support the head, because sometimes they just don't like the tightening straight away. And then as you go, just slowly retighten a bit, like nothing happened. That works sometimes, okay? What will work for your baby might not work for another one, so try different strategies. Keep going and don't give up, okay? Before you put your baby in a sling, make sure they've been changed, they're fed, and they're not overtired, because all of this can really accumulate, because they could be crying because of something else and nothing to do with the sling, okay? If they just want to be held in arms, and sometimes they just want to fall asleep, you can put like half the sling on, or just really do it like super slowly. Sometimes it's about distraction. You need to take their mind off going into the sling, so put them in and go immediately for a walk. Whatever works, give them toys, distract them, get somebody else to just do something. Sometimes that helps. Just like going out straight for a walk, sometimes that really helps. A lot of the time they cry because they're overtired, and this is why they cry. If you're breastfeeding, what can happen, and sometimes that can happen with bottle feeding as well, obviously, is that they're getting the wrong signal. So you're picking your baby up and you bring them on your chest, and they think they're going to be fed, or they think you're going to give them a bottle, and you're not. You just want to put them in the sling, okay? So they can get mixed signals, basically, and they're just too little to understand. So don't worry, there's nothing wrong with you doing. So always make sure baby's been fed before you go into the sling. And especially if you are breastfeeding, they just want the breast for comfort, put them in straight into a hip carrier, or just low down straight onto the boob, and just to tell them that it's okay. They will always have the boob. The boob is always available, even if they're in the sling, okay? And sometimes that just really helps them. Lift them on it for as long as they need, and then see if you can just bring them back center. Always burp if you feed in a sling, and then retighten. But always show them the boob is always available. If you don't feed directly to the breast, you express, you chest feed, or you have somebody else who is not the breastfeeding parent and wants to carry the baby's crying, what you could do is have a bit of breast milk, like on a muslin cloth that you put across your top. Put some breast milk on your t-shirt, who cares? I mean, it's just, you're gonna be covered anyway. So and sometimes having the smell can help them calm down, and I find that works a lot for the parent who is not breastfeeding, because that just is giving them some comfort, okay? So something you could try. If your baby cries excessively in the sling, and you've tried lots of different things and it's just not working, you might want to talk to your GP, because it could be a sign of an underlying condition, and I'm sure it's nothing serious at all, but babies are born with very mature digestive systems, so sometimes it could be that they've got a lot of reflux, they've got this or this, and being carried doesn't really work for them because it's putting pressure on the stomach. It could be a million different reasons. It could be that they just don't feel like quite there in their body after the birth. It takes a long time for them to just settle. Osteopathy can work sometimes. You can try lots of different things, and sometimes they just grow out of it and it's totally fine. So just be patient and be persistent, and don't give up. That is my thing. Even if you manage to put your baby for 10 minutes in a sling in a day, that is a win, okay? So keep going. Ask for expert help, and I'm here and everybody's here to help. Sometimes it's about the positioning, so we can have a look at the positioning. Always remember, you need to have, if you can, bum lower than the knees in what we call the M-shaped positioning. Baby close enough to kiss. Always carry baby upright. When your baby's asleep, you can fit 2 fingers between chin and chest, and make sure you can see the airways. The sling should be tight, okay? But if you are trying to get your baby to be happy in the sling, you can leave it loose, but still support the head, okay? It's very important. And then retighten gently. but come and ask us, because we'll always be happy to help. Sometimes, in some cases, it is about the sling and they just don't like it. Some babies are quite sensitive to carriers. They prefer wraps and stuff like that. Always make sure if you wrap that you flip your shoulder, so you have your shoulder like flat and it's just the fabric is being kept away from the face. It's quite important, so that will give them a lot of visibility. And don't worry too much. If it doesn't work for a few weeks, then always go back to it and always just try at least once a day. Okay, I think I've covered most of it. Do you have any questions? And if you're watching this on replay later, you can pop questions in the comments. You can message me anytime, email, DM, and I'm always happy to help. Remember that you're not alone. This happens to a lot of people. And all babies are curious, so they want to see. So try all these things and drop me a message really if you're struggling. Don't worry, it's gonna get better. It really does. Okay, I don't think we have any questions, so I've covered everything. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day. Bye bye.